activity which is going on in Gaza, and now it is going towards the West Bank as well, and where the situation is going on, and who we are, and everyone, like people on the roads are protesting. This is where the power lies. I have a question in mind, like where the power lies. People are asking for ceasefire, but who is supposed to do that? Do this ceasefire? Who we are asking from? Like, and whether the power lies with these people who have the power to veto ceasefire, and whether the power lies with the people who are on the streets and protesting from past 1 month on the brutal killing of the innocent children, mothers, parents, families, and or the power lies with the people who are being massacred in this war. So we will talk about it in further detail. We do have very prestigious guests at the moment with us. We will move on to them. We have Sister Sundus Asad. She is journalist from Beirut, Lebanon, and we do have Sister Selina Khan, and she is also a writer, and she is from Toronto, and Toronto-based writer, and write in a Crescent magazine, master in journalism from Northwestern University, and formerly worked as a reporter at US Today. And she lives in USA. And we will have Sister Sakina Dawji, that too. She is journalist and broadcaster. So we will move on towards our guest. Assalamu alaikum, sisters. I am really honored to have you all on the show, and really grateful for your time. Thank you so much for joining us today. Sisters, first of all, I will move on to you because you are in Lebanon and you are very closely like monitoring the situation in Lebanon as well as in Gaza. So, what is the current situation, and how do you see the whole battle which is going on from like since 8th of October or 7th of October, and it's been like 1 month now. So, what are your thoughts and your experience about it, and what would you like to say about it?
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. First of all, peace and blessings of Allah be on the Imam of our time, Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. Salam for my fellow sisters joining us today in this important episode in which we, inshallah, express our solidarity with the Palestinians. I was actually born in the war. My mother has delivered me while our house was bombarded. Since my birth, I've witnessed the crimes and the massacres of the occupation that was occupying our own lands in the south. My mother has told me a lot of stories about the martyrdom of my own auntie and martyrdom of my own uncle, which they were killed and murdered by the Zionist occupation just because they have opted to resist this occupation and to expel them from their own lands. We have suffered a lot because of this occupation. I remember when I was young, my grandfather, I asked my grandfather, why shall we resist the Zionist occupation? His answer was that imagine that you have a monster neighboring you. Will you settle and accept this monster to live next to you without without expelling it from this place to live safely and to get rid of it? So the option of resistance has been a righteous resistance since we have born in this land, because we know that actually the Lebanon, Palestine, Syria, Jordan have been one country, but the colonial British and French occupation have divided us into different countries in order to loot our wealth and in order to control us and enforce their hegemony on us. But ever since, despite they have the advanced weapons, despite having all the powers, The people of the region have rejected to submit to this occupation and to submit to this hegemony. So resistance has been, we believe that resistance is a birthright to us, the people in this region, West Asia. Because as long as the occupation is existing, this means that he will persist. It will persist in its crimes and atrocities, especially that they still believe in their so-called Greater Israel in the region. So we know that it's our destiny to resist. It's our destiny to sacrifice blood, to sacrifice whatever dear we have in order to put an end for this occupation. And actually, what has happened a month ago is that the righteous Palestinian resistance in Gaza, which has been under siege for roughly 2 decades now, has opted to put an end to this misery, to make a solution for the miserable Gazan who are deprived from their basic needs, who are under a total blockade. So the resistance has been a righteous resistance. And ever since we have seen the double standard policy, which is followed by the Western diplomacy and the hypocrisy of their slogans, we see them supporting Ukraine and supporting the so-called one. We have seen what they have done in Syria, and they claim that they promote human rights and democracy. But when it comes to the Palestinian people, we have seen their bloody image, their true face, their true nature, which is a murderous one. So the people of Gaza on the 7th of October have expressed their own righteous resistance, and they have launched this movement in order to let the world listen their voice, because everyone is ignoring them, especially the so-called Muslim governments and the so-called Persian Gulf governments who have denied the Palestinian right and signed shameful normalization agreements with the Zionists in order to preserve their own shaky thrones. So the Palestinians, yes, they are today sacrificing blood. They are making a new history, which is the history of the liberation of full Palestine. And Alhamdulillah, as a Lebanese, we consider the Palestinians our own brothers, and it's our own duty to support them. Today, most of our beloved ones are on the borders, fighting hand in hand with the Palestinians, and we don't fear all the threats, all the American threats and the Western threats who are threatening us not to interfere in this war. Sallam has asked us to support all the oppressed. So it's our duty today to sacrifice, to fight with the Palestinians in order to get rid of this colonial settler entity.
Thank you so much, Sister Sundas. You have shared your experience and whatever is going on. Sister Sakina, how do you feel like about this war? Since it's been going on, how do you see the role of power? Who we are asking from, like, we need ceasefire, but who we are asking from, like, who is going to give this ceasefire when white supremacists are there and they are like doing whatever they want? So what are your thoughts on that? Who are these people we are asking ceasefire from, and where does the role of power lies? Whether it lies with the people who are being massacred in Gaza, or whether it lies with the people who are on the roads and protesting against this illegal occupation and asking for ceasefire, or whether the people who are holding the government offices and they are like doing something against, which is against democratic values, you can say. How do you see this whole thing?
So I think, the short answer is, we are asking from ceasefire from everybody, anybody who's listening. That's the short answer. Uh, the longer answer would be that this is multi-layered approach, and especially I think it's those of us who work in the media. We have to understand that we are trying to reach out different groups of people, but with the same cause. I mean, the sister here was talking about the sacrifice, for example, that the Palestinians and have been making for the past so many years, and we are watching. Our hearts are bleeding as we watch what is going on in Palestine at the moment, in Gaza. However, um, I think they are so inspirational. I think I want to start by saying that it's just so inspirational. I mean, the sister is talking there with so much bravery, and I find that even though in the beginning, in this part of the world, in the Western world, we started out with the same kind of vigor and with the same kind of bravery. What I see now is that there are so many tactics that are trying to silence us and to make us scared. So it's multifaceted. So like when you're asking, who are we asking from? First of all, we are asking the governments of the world, the Americans, the British, those who are actually aiding and assisting Israel in this. We are asking them. Why are we asking them? Because some of us are citizens of these nations, and we have every right, whether they will listen to us or not, we have every right to raise our voice and say we do not accept this. This is not an issue about Muslims. This is not. This is now at this stage. It's a question of humanity. And if our countries, of Britain and America, for example, are going to talk about human rights and are going to talk about fairness and justice around the world, because they are apparently these superpowers as acting as the police of the world, then why are you not, in our name, why are you ignoring this issue? So first of all, we are asking from them that we want this bloodshed to stop based on humanitarian grounds, number one. But we are also asking Muslims. We are asking Muslims worldwide. We are asking the Arab governments, who at this stage are doing absolutely nothing and are really letting down all the you know peace loving. These are Muslim lands. The major issue is here is Masjid al-Aqsa, which is an important, integral part for every Muslim around the world. How could Muslim nations and their leadership keep quiet when this is being robbed from us? So we are asking the leaders of Muslim nations to step up, to use their power and to ensure that this bloodshed stops. But beyond that, we are asking ourselves, the people on the street, you can see around the world the power that people have. We are now saying, enough is enough. We have tried all the other measures. Let's come together as people on the grassroots. Let's get together and force change. And we can force change. And it will be difficult. It will be a long process. And yes, there is a lot of fear out there. But if those people in Gaza are sacrificing with their blood, what we can sacrifice is very, very small in comparison.
Thank you so much, Sister Sakina. Sister Selina, what are your thoughts on this portrayal of aggression which is going on, which we are experiencing and seeing in the media? How do you see it? And how do you see the role of media as well, while living in especially USA as well?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is my first time, and I'm really honored to be here.
Thank you
As
so
far
much.
as the media portrayal of the massacre, I think a lot of it is in the social media is where we're getting a lot of our information about what's really going on the ground. And that's really important because it's waking a lot of people up who haven't been following for all these years. They're seeing it for the first time. And a lot of us are seeing it for the first time because people actually have cell phones now and they're taking videos and sharing them. So that's important. But another point is that we have to balance what we see and what we share and what we tell others and our perspective. Because if all we see is people dying and all this devastation, it's making a lot of people depressed. They feel like they're hopeless, like nothing's going to change. This is going to be like this forever. But we also have to show all the strength. Like, we see the strength of the mothers, we see the strength of the kids who are persevering, who are not giving up, and also all the victories off the battlefield and on the battlefield. No one really talks about what's going on the battlefield, and that, you know, the Palestinians are making strides and they are protecting their land. And if we don't hear that part, then we're not hopeful at all. And also from the Quran, just keep reminding that, you know, victory is near and it is coming. So it's important that all of this is balanced when it's portrayed, and when we talk to our kids or we talk to other people, that we also keep all this in mind. Because there's a concept called black pill theory. And I first heard about this from Brother Ali Salam. He is of Basira, the founder of that. And he was talking about the black pill theory, which is a conspiracy to make people think that they can't do anything. And all of this is just bad. And all our glory was either in the past or it's going to come in the future. The present is just all bad. We don't have any control. We can't make any accomplishments. We can't be successful. And when we only see the negatives and we don't see the positives, then that feeds into this theory. So I think we should be aware of that, that they want us to feel depressed and hopeless, but we should keep our hope and look at the positives, and also talk about the people who are helping the Palestinians, the groups who are helping the Palestinians, and the strides that they're making.
Thank you so much, Sister Selina. Sister Sundus, I will ask you, as Sister Sakina mentioned something about a Muslim word or Muslim Arab word. How do you see the hypocritic actions of these leaders, and how would you differentiate their action from the common people on the ground? What role do you think they can play, like the common people can play towards the Arab governments to, like, obviously if they don't let, for example, these things, these kind of ties they have or the contracts they have with the Israel or whatever, if they don't act upon them and they suspend them, at least if they can't even break the ties or whatever, it would help the Palestinian people at least. But we see, like, if we look at the role of Saudi Arabia, we have seen, like, it was like around on 21st October, around that time they were having a kind of concert around that time, instead of working towards the cause of Palestine. And how do you see this selfish behavior of these governments which are related to Muslim countries especially? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay. First of all, we have to mention something which is nothing new, that the so-called Arab rulers, especially the Persian Gulf regime's rulers, are nothing but colonial rulers who have been designed by the British colonialism, and they have been set in their thrones despite the rejection of their own people. And so you don't have to expect from them to do anything to the Palestinians. They don't care about Palestine. This is nothing new. They have done nothing for the Palestinians for 7 decades now. Despite they can use the oil weapon, they can pressure the Western governments, but Donald Trump has done something good when he described them as the milking cow. They are nothing but a milking cow. They do nothing for the Muslims. They claim to be Muslims. I don't know how they pray, because when you pray, you initiate your prayers by saying Allahu Akbar. Allah is the great, and not America, not Israel. They are hypocrites. They go against the Islamic teachings. They go against the Quranic teachings. I bet they haven't read the Quran. They haven't comprehended the Quranic teachings, which stress the importance of supporting the oppressed. And this is what has been mentioned by Sister Sakina, that the issue of sacrifice is part and parcel of our religion. I'm talking to you from Lebanon, and I'm telling you what the mothers here in think, what my community think, that it's our duty to sacrifice this war. Yes, we don't like war. Yes, we don't we don't. We don't have interests in war, but when the war is imposed on us, it's our duty to sacrifice. And this is what we have learned from the school of Karbala and from the school of Sayyidah Zainab Salamullahi alayha. We know that we have to pay dear prices in order to liberate our lands, but this is our ethical, humanitarian, I stress here, it's our humanitarian obligation, and it's the humanitarian obligation of every free person across the globe. It's not a Muslim duty, because what is committed by the Zionist apartheid regime threatens the whole globe, not only West Asia, not only the Palestinians, not only the Lebanese. The Zionist occupation is a threat to the entire world, because of ethnic cleansing, this mentality of general murder can't be tolerated by any free people, and that's why Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah in his recent speech has said that if you want your stance today with Palestine mentions to what extent you are human. This you have to reconsider your humanity if you believe in the humanitarian values. It's your duty today to do whatever at your proposal in order to help the Palestinians. It's not something that we must ignore. We have been now. It has been a month after the aggression has been launched against the Palestinians. I can't tolerate how many people are living their life like something hasn't happened, and they have done nothing for the Palestinians, especially those who are in the West. It's their own Islamic, humanitarian, ethical, religious duty to do anything to the Palestinians, to protest, to write to their own representatives. It's their duty. It's their duty to ask the hypocritical narrative that is being promoted by the mainstream media, and how they try to demonize the Palestinian resistance, which I said that it's a righteous resistance. What has happened on the 7th of October is a righteous reaction against the blockade that the Palestinians have endured for years now.
Yeah, thank you, sister. Sakina, I would like to ask you the role of United Nations and their General Assembly and stuff like that. Do you think they are just the one who just keep the oppressor, the people who are oppressing a nation, they empowers them in many ways instead of doing anything? If we look at any incident, if we look at any incident, for example, it's the Kashmir, it's the Yemen, it's the you can say now it's going on in Palestine, whatever, everyone is watching. Even if the Serbia, where there was a huge massacre, like around 65,000 people were just killed in like 2, 3, or 4 years, something like that. And how do you see in front of them? So what is the role of that United Nations when their own, I think so, their own institutions are being attacked by these people? Refugees camps are attacked, journalists were martyred, and hospitals are being attacked. So where do you see their role? I mean, so why do we have to follow, for example, them in that context? What are your thoughts on their role?
So I mean, I do think that United Nations does have a role. It's another thing that they don't have the teeth to bite. That is quite obvious. And because they are nations that have the veto power, obviously, it's not workable, because whatever it is that they maintain the status quo. So that is obvious. However, I do think that it does have some kind of role. For example, I think the vote that happened, whereby all the countries, voted for ceasefire, and we were able to sort of assess, to give some kind of an indication that most of the world was against this. It's another thing that they don't have the power to do anything about it. They don't have the ability to stop it. And of course, we must understand, the reality is that the military power or the resources that the United States is putting up there, and not only there, I mean, this is a whole imperial system that is around the world. So when we talk about, for example, Africa, you will see that they always support, not all countries, but most of them will support the cause of the Palestinians. However, they don't have any power to do anything. A lot of their resources are controlled by Israel or by America. The investments, their natural resources are all controlled. So much as they may feel for the cause, they are not really able to do anything. I think it's the same with the Arab countries. It's one thing about the leadership, but if you look at the people on the street, um, you can see how much passion there is to change the status quo. But United Nations, I think, is just a sort of a litmus test to tell you how different countries are kind of thinking. But in reality, of course, they don't have teeth, so they can't really bite. The one point I wanted to mention, I think sister was talking about for those of us in the West, and our responsibility. And I think this is really, really important, because I do feel that, the kind of freedom, for example, talking about us in the United Kingdom, of course there is a lot of pressure. There are a lot of pressures. There are efforts to try and ensure, for example, that the protests don't happen. But having said all that, the kind of freedom of speech that we enjoy in this country is really amazing. It doesn't exist in a lot of places, and so we have to take these opportunities to use this. However, what is happening right now, I think, is that the media in this part of the world, the mainstream media, we all know that they are biased. However, I think we, as people who are peace loving and who want to have a different viewpoint, I would say we really need to watch them with a lot of caution. Because I come across people who say, we are balancing news, so we will watch BBC and then we will watch also, Al Jazeera, and get a picture. What I think sometimes I feel like maybe is we're not realizing is that we are soaking in things that we may not even realize we are soaking in. So in the West, there's a lot of people, I hear Muslims, people who are for Palestine, but they will come out with statements that you would think, oh my God, how did you even say that? And this is because unconsciously, we are soaking this bias. And when it comes to our younger people, this is even more important. Um, this is the language we are hearing in school. This is the language they are hearing everywhere else. And if we are not on top of it, as mothers in particular, and we are not countering and we are not explaining to our children, this language that is being used, then it is a very subtle manner in which, there is a lot of young people who will say to us, why can't they just leave and go to a safe place? Why are we allowing people to die in Gaza? And I think we need to really, when this question starts, we have to calm down and really explain it. So, in terms of
I
mainstream
think this
media,
is the
a
second
lot
time.
of them,
Sorry to cut you here, but there is some kind of a booklet they have, especially in Western media, which they are using in order to like achieve whatever goals they have towards this war, and they are rephrasing and making questions and on based on those booklets, whatever question are in there, just to like promote their own agenda. And obviously when you keep on hearing and keep on watching and keep on like reading on those lines which are coming back over
yeah.
and again, you start thinking in the same way as you are mentioning the points, very important. So what are your thoughts on that as well? So afterwards I will move on to Sister Selena.
So I think it is, they say that if you repeat the lies often enough, people will start believing them. So that is kind of what is the strategy around here, that you keep repeating it again and again and again. And somehow, without you realizing, subconsciously, you are soaking this. But also, another thing I think is you're talking about this booklet and stuff, uh, obviously they are following a very narrow path, and the messaging is very, very articulated. I think for us who are the alternative media here now in these countries, I think we can't just meet there. We can't just say, okay, we've got our own media, we're going to talk about it. We got to sit down together and strategize, to counter this. So, for example, that there are certain proscribed groups in this country that you can't talk about or you can't support. So, when we are talking to the mainstream, we almost sometimes feel like I have to justify something for the entire Muslim Ummah. And this is something that we are constantly put in. If one wrong thing happens in the Muslim world, every single Muslim in the West is expected to kind of go and explain. Yeah, but why is that the case? So these are the things that are very subtle, but it puts us on a back foot. And instead of us having our own narrative out there, we are always on the defense. We are 1 foot backwards, and we are always trying to catch up. So I think it's media. There is no doubt about the role of the media, how important it is. All the wars today are really actually happening in the media. So we have a huge role to play, but it has to be very well thought out. But apart from media, I think even as mothers, we have a huge role. We really have a huge role to ensure that the messages that our children are hearing from media, from school, from groups, friends, wherever, that we are able to explain that in a way that children will understand. Not just to say this is not on and off. They want explanation. We have to be able to give those to them.
Yeah. Sister Selena, what are your thoughts? What we can learn from the mothers of Palestine's mother, for instance, as a mother, as a woman, as a female? Because when we see the massacre, we see the kids, like, I can't even describe, it's so painful to see the children without heads, without body parts, amputated like body parts and stuff like that, and still they are just saying Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, and they are like giving in such a huge sacrifice, not only for their children. There are so many families whose generations are finished now, for instance, in this war. They won't have any more generation because they are all of them are finished now. So what are your thoughts on that? What do we learn from them?
Yeah, I think because we live in the West, we have a completely different way of how we were brought up. And like Sister Sundas was saying, she's from Beirut, so from a young age, she was taught all this. And for a lot of us, this is kind of like the first time of really being so involved. So I think what we can learn from them is you have to be prepared for this. It can't be like something happens and all of a sudden you know what to do, and you all of a sudden have the sabr, you all of a sudden have the strength to speak up. It's something that we have to instill in the kids and ourselves when it's peaceful and everything's fine. So these mothers have been teaching their kids to be strong, and it's just amazing that everything that comes out of their mouth is backed by an ayat of the Quran. Even little kids, from little kids to women to men, everything they say, they back it up with the Quran. So they're living the Quran. So I think what we can learn is to go back and study the Quran and know it, and know how we should act in different situations, and learn the spirit of sacrifice. And right now, even little things like protesting, everybody's going out there and doing it, but it's kind of a trend. And are people going to get tired of it and just stay home, or are we going to persevere and keep going with it? And when there's obstacles in our way, are we going to give up, or are we going to keep going? So we can learn this from them and how they keep going, their perseverance. Like from Surah Al-Asr, you keep encouraging the truth and you keep persevering. And I think we can learn that from them. Yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you so much. So Sundas, what are your thoughts on what did the Palestinian people achieve? Because, apart from the massacre being done and the siege they are living in, obviously there is hunger, there is pain, there is so much going on which we can't even imagine to be in their shoes, like for instance. But what are your thoughts? What this attack has achieved, in terms of success, for instance? As a from the side of Palestine. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Sister, the Palestinian people have been able so far to humiliate what it's considered the fourth army in the world with humble weapons. You know that the occupation has so far only murdered the Palestinians, has achieved nothing. The conspiracy was that they wanted to expel the Palestinians to the Sinai desert and to perform a new Nakba in this era. And this is happening live on the TV. So they are trying to commit this crime, another catastrophe against the Palestinians. The Palestinian people, as Sister Selina has mentioned, that they have read the Quran and they are applying what the Quran states and what the Quran wants us to do, which is to stand against al-batil, to stand against falsehood. Despite this, requires a lot of sacrifices and a lot of blood. What the Palestinians have been able to do for 1 month right now is similar to what happened in Lebanon in the 1982, when the Israeli occupation besieged the Beirut area for roughly 3 months. But the people of Beirut have resisted the aggression and emerged victorious at that time when the Lebanese wasn't in the same level of strength like today. The Palestinians are doing their new history. They're teaching all the slaves who accept normalization, all the slaves who accept to knee before the global arrogance, that it's duty to resist, it's a duty to say no for the Quraysh of your time. That is what the Palestinians are doing today. And this is quite similar to what the Yemenis have done during the past 7 years. And it's quite interesting that amid the silence, the shameful silence that we have seen from some nations, we have seen the Yemenis, the barefoot Yemenis, the helpless Yemenis are supporting them. I'm speechless when it comes for the Yemenis. That despite they are under blockade, that they have nothing, they are supporting the Palestinians. Similar here in Lebanon. Maybe restrictions or fears to be investigated or to be persecuted.
Sister, your voice is distorted and is keep cutting when you are speaking. And you can speak. Let's see what happens then.
Okay, so I was mentioning what the Yemenis have done, are doing to the Palestinians, despite all the siege and all the blockade they are suffering from, and this is the similar also what, and we still feel that we are doing nothing for the Palestinians. If it's open to us, then we will not delay any kind of support for Palestinians, despite the economic situation that we are suffering from. It's our duty today to do something. Let us remember Imam Hussein when he was in Karbala and he was screaming and asking for help. This is the time Karbala is repeated again. It's our duty to do anything in our proposal. Everyone can do something. The boycott campaigns are quite important. It's our duty to do whatever can harm the Israeli economy and can harm the American economy. because America is complicit, is a direct complicit in this war. And the United States of America is the one that is refusing any ceasefire and refusing any stop of this war and killing the Palestinians and killing the people here in West Asia.
Yeah, it's really thoughtful. So we should look at everything we can do, which is in our hands. If we can boycott, we can boycott. If we can say something, we do say it, and we do everything we can do. At least saying a right word in front of tyrant ruler is also a big thing, a courageous thing. So we can at least do that wherever we are and whatever we are doing. Sister Sakina, how do you see the act of hypocrisy, or in terms of you can say West or their narratives regarding terrorism, when like 2.2 million people are living in like open jail from past more than 20, you can say more than 20 years now, and from past 75 years they are in different kind of issues they are facing, and still like when they retaliate or when they do something, when this attack happened, we saw like normalization things were going on, and 2 weeks before this attack, Netanyahu was showing his map where is the business corridor is going to be a success or whatever. So when they retaliate, when nobody was listening to these people and no one was like caring about what Palestinians want about them, then there was no voice. And when they retaliate, they call it terrorism, and they use it. Don't you think this word terrorism, they use it to control the voices of the people who are besieged and who are oppressed and who are in pain from such a long time, like 75 years? If I take your house and kill everyone, God forbid, in your house, and kill everyone around you, for instance, and take the houses of everyone around you and your businesses and everything, how do you think one should like act in such a situation which they are facing from past 75 years? So when they retaliate, it is amount to terrorism. How you see this hypocrisy?
So I think first of all, connecting to the question you asked before, what has the present situation in Palestine achieved? This is what it has achieved. It has made it very, very clear to everybody around the world this hypocrisy that you're talking about. Because I think, unfortunately, we all have very short memories. So a war happens, we are all out there, we are speaking out, we are, doing whatever BDS, and then we forget. And I think the world had forgotten Palestinians, and we had forgotten, even though what we are seeing now is in front of our screens all the time. In all these years, the killing of Palestinian children, for example, has not stopped. This has been going on. It's just that we weren't witnessing it. So what this present thing has achieved is it has made it very clear and obvious to the whole world who is who. So that is the first thing, I think. In terms of why the hypocrisy, I mean, it's whole a strategic thing. America said that if Israel did not exist, we would create Israel. So this is not an issue for them. This is nothing to do with humanitarian. These are just words to kind of, it's a game. It is. So the whole idea is this is strategic war. There's efforts here to create a duplication of the Suez Canal, which America and Israel can control. There is a whole effort to ensure that the resources in the Middle East is controlled. America is the superpower. The economy has been really bad. They have been, so they need to do something. They want to keep power around the world. So I don't think it should be shocking us or it should be surprising us at all to hear these double standards. In Britain, on the other hand, the whole Balfour Declaration, they created Israel. So it's their baby. They are going to support it come what may. So that should not come as a surprise for us. So what I do think that has happened, which I see as a silver lining, as a good thing, is that things have become very obvious, and the whole world, and the kind of activism, for example, we are seeing right now in the world has not happened before. Despite the fact that we've had so many different wars, in Palestine, in Lebanon, attacks, the present awareness that is there around the world, and I would like to actually look at this from a positive perspective and say that there is a lot. Yes, the sacrifices are happening, but then again, we in particular are an ummah of Karbala. We are Husseinis, and we are witnessing in Palestine what happened 1500, 1500 years back. So whereas we would sit and listen to these historical atrocities, and we would think something that happened in a barbaric era. In today's world, we are a civilized, we are a modern world. No, this is the same thing. It's the same thing is happening, and therefore, when we say in our ziyarah that I wish I was there with you, Imam, here is Imam saying, okay, where are you now? Come, this is Karbala now. Where are you? So I think it has opened up a lot of eyes, and in terms of the hypocrisy, it's made it very obvious around the world. I don't think there is anyone anywhere who doesn't understand this hypocrisy anymore.
Thank you so much, Sister Sakina. Sister Selina, I would ask you, what is the responsibility you think, especially the women living in the West, what role they can play in terms of this war, for instance, or is the kind of haq and batil, or the truth and injustice, and without justice, do you think there could be a peace in any manner? If we don't serve the peace, we don't serve the justice, we can achieve peace. So what do you think on this ground as a conclusive remark?
For women, speaking first for myself, I think sometimes I get caught up in the day just watching what's going on and just sitting and watching. First, we have to fulfill our obligations that we have to our house and to our kids. And after that, we have to do what everybody else is doing, whatever is needed to be done. We have to look around and see, okay, what's in our local town, what's missing, what's not happening. So I'll just give you an example. Like, I'm a writer. I write from home. I really don't go out too much. But a couple of weeks ago, there was nothing happening in our town. There was no rallies, nothing. So I just called one of my friends that I've known for a long time. She's a peace activist, 77 years old. And I said, there's nothing happening. Should we do something? And she said, yes. So just the two of us got together, and in one day we had an emergency rally, and like 500 people showed up. So it wasn't that I was trying to be an activist and going out there and doing something, but no one else was doing it, so I had to. And I think that's, we can look at in any of the scenarios, if something's not being done, we have to come out of our comfort zone. Look at the Palestinians are coming out of their comfort zones. We have to come, even if I'm not comfortable doing something, I have to do it because it's the need of the time. So another thing for the West, I think if we look in the past, whenever there is mobilization like this and there's unity amongst the people who are helping the oppressed, they always misdirect all our energy towards something else. So we have to be careful that we are directing all our energy in something that helps the Palestinians. And there's just little things that they do, like when people say boycott, there'll be someone coming out and saying, no, that's bid'ah, you cannot boycott. So there's always fitna and whatever, protesting, no, women shouldn't go out there. Or anything you try to do, someone will come and try to either quash it or misdirect all your energy. If someone says, let's do a protest, there'll be a group who will say, no, don't protest, let's do a vigil. Let's just mourn what happened. Let's not protest. Let's not say anything. So you have to be careful, and I think the women are wise. If you're listening, reading, and thinking, then you have to direct your friends and your community in a way that will help the Palestinians. It's not about us right now, it's about helping them and what they need.
Thank you so much, Sister Sundar's last few minutes are left, so I would like you to give your conclusive remarks, because every passing moment there is some child, some woman, some old man is dying, and there are so many with the injuries who are being discharged from the hospitals, and there is no one to look after them. and there is no medication available, there is no food and no water and nothing at all. So what are your conclusive remarks for the women of the West?
Okay. Yes, you have seen that this brutal aggression has targeted a lot of women in Palestine. And if you are following the news, you have seen how the Israelis have killed 3 days ago a grandma and her and 3 daughters here in Lebanon. We have heard nothing from the so-called feminist community across the globe. No one have said something about these crimes. We have seen what they have done during the past 2 years in Iran regarding what's the so-called Mahsa Amini's case, and we have seen the hypocrisy of the global feminist groups and what they have done in Iran, and all their savage actions that they have done. But no one of them we have seen nothing regarding the Palestinian people. You have seen what they have done for Shireen Abu Akleh. She was killed, and they haven't dared to critique the Zionist soldiers because they don't care about the women. This shows how hypocritical they are. They care only about how to divide the families, how to spread corruption, how to spread moral corruption, and how to spread how to divide the family structure. But not today. It's our duty as women to start from our own houses before practicing or performing our media obligation or our media job. We start from our own houses. We prepare children who know about Palestine. We prepare children who are ready to sacrifice everything they have, even if they have to sacrifice their own blood and their own selves in order to stand with the righteous resistance, whether they are in Palestine, in Latin America, everywhere in the globe. That's our duty, to prepare, not to allow the Western mentality and the Western values to make our own children slaves and robots, and to make them ignore their religious and ethical obligations. That's where we must start, to prepare those generations who are ready to defend the oppressed all across the globe. Also, another issue, I mentioned it earlier, it's this comprehension of the Quran. We must return to our religion, to return to the lofty teachings of our religion that stress on helping the oppressed and to supporting them all the time. Then it comes our job or our media work, which is to practice or to perform the jihad of this time, which is the jihad tabyin, the jihad of clarification, to refute all the mainstream media pro-Zionist narratives, which have for years now decolonized our minds and treats us as others and as inferior to the Western supremacy. We must. It's time to refute these narrations and to show the savagery of the Western culture. That's it. And I believe that we will witness quite soon the liberation of Palestine and the victory of the righteous resistance.
Inshallah. Sister Sakina, last 2 minutes are left, so if you would like to share any comment on that, conclusive comment.
I think, like we said, we should not focus. I think the main issue is a lot of people, for example, ask, what difference does it make? If I do this or I do that, it's not going to change anything. We have people asking, we've been demonstrating, this Saturday in London. We are expecting 1 million people on the streets of London. And what difference does it make whether I do this or not? It does make a difference. First of all, I would like to say, for those of us who are in the UK and you are listening, this is really important. These numbers are making a difference. If you've been watching what has been happening, this the Home Secretary has been making every effort to ensure that our freedom of expression and speech in this country is curtailed. But the numbers that are there in these possessions, for example, has made it impossible for her to do that. So I would urge people, make up the numbers. Come out there. If you've never attended a procession in your life, this is the time to do it. Come out there. Let's show our numbers. Let's see what we can do. But
Thank you
also,
so much. Yeah.
yeah, I think that there was a time, when during the Vietnam War, there was one man who always used to go to the White House and light a candle. And he was asked, what is your one candle going to do? It's never going to make any difference. And he said, I'm not trying to change them. I'm just trying to ensure that I don't get changed. But this lantern is supposed to ensure that my conscience remains alive and not change them. So we all have to ensure that our conscience remains alive, so that when our Imam comes, our conscience is ready to understand him, to recognize him, and to run towards him.
Thank you so much, Sister Sakina. Thank you so much, Sister Selina and Sister Sundar. I'm really honored to have you all on the show on this important, significant topic. Thank you very much. And to all the viewers, I would say, as our guest said, we are waiting for our Imam, and we need to prepare ourselves so our conscience should be revived and alive. And for that matter, we need to come back to the Quran and the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. I'll take a leave now. See you inshallah next week. Allah Hafiz.